Hello, everybody, and welcome to Quantum Leap, a show that we do once a week where we talk about the classic series Quantum Leap, starring Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. And today we're going to be talking about the episode called Roberto, which is the season four. It's season four, episode 17, and this episode was directed by Scott Bakula, I believe.
Yes.
So that's interesting because we haven't seen really. I don't know if we've seen him direct. Maybe one other one before. Now I vaguely remember that there was one kind of episode that was a bit off, and I almost feel like he stepped in last minute or something. If you remember, it was kind of an odd episode.
Yes.
Was it the barber one? I don't know what it was. There was one that was kind of all over the place, and he was the director of. I felt that maybe it probably wasn't his fault. This one is him directing and probably not a last minute arrangement.
Yeah, it was definitely the hairdresser one he directed, then this one, and then he directs an episode next season, and that's his third.
Nice. And of course, I'm Price of Reason, and with me, as always, or as usual, the Script Doctor. For those who don't know, the Script Doctor is a veteran screenwriter. He has his own Patreon where he teaches screenwriting. He also has his own show on his YouTube channel, the Script Doctor. So the show is called Scripts on Saturdays, and there's a list in Hollywood where they look at, where every year the top screenplays that are being considered by studios appears on this list. And on his show, he goes over movies that have either at one point been considered by major studios or still being considered, or even projects that were greenlit by studios, and he discussed it with a guest. They dissect these screenplays. He does a really great job there on his own YouTube channel. So if you're not familiar, you should check it out. How's it going, Script?
It's going good. I had a good day today. We wrapped all of our stuff a few hours early, so I got to go home while there's still daylight out. That was nice. It was good. Happy to be here too. I had plenty of time to even rewatch the episode again today. So yeah,
that's awesome. I actually had seen this episode a number of times over the years, but I didn't remember all the details of it. And today I did watch it, but I was doing like 5 things at the same time. So probably in certain moments I may ask you questions, but I think that I got the main gist of it. And we may have some additional people joining us. It's just everybody was running late today. And hopefully, they'll pop in as we discuss the show. But regardless, I always enjoy hanging out with Script and going over stuff with him. So that'll be interesting regardless of anything. And there's already a nice group of people hanging out with us here in the chat. And I guess I'll pull up the file number 1 and file number 2. Ron Donofero doesn't appreciate that there's 2 files. Sorry, Ron. Anyhow, I guess I should share the screen. Don't you think it's great, Script, that we're already on like season 4, episode 17?
I mean, it's bittersweet because we only got one more season left after a handful more of these episodes, and then that's the end of the Quantum Leap.
Well, hopefully our crew going over something, maybe there'll be other things that we can watch. But yes, I mean, it'll be bittersweet because it's kind of fun doing the Quantum Leap Revisited thing, but it'll be okay, I think. And I have to embiggen it, I know. The Dead Man sent us a $2 super chat. Here for a can of beefaroni. Beefaroni. That's because our friend Nick, he absolutely loves eating beefaroni. Legend has it, at least.
Legend has he loves eating beefaroni. Oh, interesting.
His favorite chef in the world is Chef Boyardee. That's what they say.
Fascinating.
So, thank you so much for the super chat. The Dead Man is always really cool with the channel, and I really appreciate it. He's also a channel member, which is also very cool. Thank you. Price of Reason, and the mute and the volume just in case. Oh, you're right, Tex. It should be paused, and I needed to mute the volume. So at the beginning, first of all, that was Ogre.
Yes, that is what's his name?
Don,
Donald Gibb,
Don
who
Gibb,
is
yeah, and I saw the name in the credits, so it's absolutely him.
yeah, he's a funny character actor.
He is. He was perfect for this. Almost underused in this episode if you already brought him, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So then at this point, they're arguing about something. It's like, what about freedom of speech? And then the other guy's like, says something about like sacrificing animals or something. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, sacrificing animals is not part of freedom of speech, I think, is what he was trying to claim, or something
Right.
along that line.
And then, like, Sam kind of gets pushed around and smacked, and then the thing, oh boy, and then the thing starts. Do 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 do. And then the show starts, and there's still this ruckus, and he give him the thing to say, like, he's trying to figure out. Here we are on Roberto, and then he's like saying, no, upcoming shows will have like, and I think he actually talks about even the ladies, maybe the naked the bathing suit ladies. He mentions that here, doesn't he?
Swimsuit models, what have you. This is actually the first time where you don't really see a mirror reflection. We just see him through the television lens.
I thought that was kind of cool, actually.
Me too.
Like, it's nice because we always see the mirror thing, so it was nice that finally, like, it's something a bit different. I thought that was cool. Yeah, this is actually really a good idea.
Well, it's different because we're also closer to the timeline of Quantum Leap, because we're in the 80s now. We're only a couple of years before Quantum Leap even starts.
Right. Which there was another little bit here that, Al's like, oh, we're just very close by to here.
Yeah, because they're in New Mexico.
Right, they're in New Mexico. So this one, Tex Rogers, this was written by Chris Rupenthal, who's one of the co-producers here. I usually see his name. And then it was directed, I think it should say it in a second. It was directed by, why doesn't it say it?
Scott Bakula.
Right, but I feel like I missed that title. Here, directed by Scott Bakula. So yeah, that was his episode, and then
is this the first time that he directed an episode? Hi, everybody,
second.
I'm here. Second
time. The other one was the barber one. Hey, Ro, how's it going? So January 27th, 1982. Ro is a broadcast news veteran, and he's joined us.
I'm checking all the references that they're making in the show. So far, so good. No plot holes. Hi, Lisa.
So
Hello,
so
Ron.
basically it is I'm trying to see Delane Matthews, is that the lady?
Yes, that is that's she plays
Oppenheimer.
Janny. Yes.
Alan Oppenheimer also sounds like familiar.
Alan Oppenheimer is the voice of Skeletor in the He-Man cartoons.
Ah,
the old one?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Was he the boss of
Yeah, he was the
he's the boss of Sam, right?
Yeah, he's the head of the station network. He's done a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
That's Skeletor?
Yeah, he plays the he did Skeletor, he did Man at Arms, he did Kringer. Yeah, he
nice.
He actually recently reprised his role as Skeletor and He-Man in the I think streaming film of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the 2022 one.
I see. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's still acting. He still goes to conventions. Still can do the voice, which is funny.
That is cool. So then Sam goes into this office, and Al shows up, and this lady kind of doesn't really care much for Sam. She doesn't think very highly of him, and Al is impressed with how she looks. And then he's like, I was here with the Fuhrer. You don't understand the show. Like, how did I get here of all the places? And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, you're Roberto Gutierrez. You're in New Mexico. You were a liability, but now everybody likes your style, your show, because it's kind of like a Geraldo type of show.
Oh, Tex Rogers has a plot hole.
What's the plot hole?
Let's see. When Jenny sees Sam talking to himself, behind her is Weekly World News with a picture of Jeffrey Dahmer, but he was unknown in 1982 until 1991.
Oh, there we go.
Interesting.
Is that true?
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
If Tex Rogers says it's true.
No, it's a major plot hole. It's actually
Yeah.
Or did this one reporter actually figure out who he was, and it just took a
Before-
while for them to confirm the evidence?
right.
Yeah.
This was the person who
that's a-
scooped it all.
That's a good catch.
I think that either my volume is low or Ro's volume is low.
How about now?
No,
Some-
everything's fine. It seems
Everything
on
is fine. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. So yeah, I guess that would be a strange plot hole. In any case, Al's like, Sam, you got to convince them that you're kind of he doesn't say jerk, but he's like, you wouldn't take that from her because she's like saying, oh, I'll run over you with a car back and forth. You'll have enough content for a week, not content, whatever, enough things to do for a week to report on or whatever it is. And he goes, Sam, you have to say something. Tell her that she came off a witch's broom or something like that. And he's like, well,
How does Al know that there's a little ribbing between these two? Is that
That's a good
ever
question.
established?
Not really, no.
Mm.
It's not established, but he's basically telling Sam that his character is very kind of over the top. So
I wonder if it's because he does mention that this is kind of a small town version of Geraldo Rivera's show, and then maybe that's how he kind of made the connection. But
Well, he knows that the profile of this Roberto guy is that he's quick-witted and sarcastic, and he likes to feed off of conflict. So I'm thinking that Al is just saying that there's no distinction between the guy on camera versus the guy in, backstage. So when he gets insulted by a colleague, he will throw it back at them. Hey, Nick.
Hey, everyone. Sorry about being late.
oh no worries. This is the best.
I just got here myself.
So for those who don't know, although I feel like everybody does know, Nick is a local minister, a local locksmith, local consultant to sheriff in the fire department, has his own ranch where he raises goats, expert in science fiction. How's it going, Nick?
Going good. And
So yeah. Now the only interesting if Sean suddenly shows up, that'll be like a royal flush, but I think he's working.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyhow, so I think that it's convenient that Al knew that he should rib her, but I think that the idea here is that because he's sort of a local Geraldo, his reputation is he's supposed to be kind of over the top and outspoken. So this lady kind of making fun of him and just putting him in his place probably wouldn't be well received. That's why Al's trying to tell him you got to make everybody think you're you, and if you're this kind of big personality, you have to act like it. So I'm okay with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I can accept that. So he's like, tell her that she got off the broomstick. Then the guy's like, what are your next shows going to be about? And he's like, well, I got some ideas. What if JFK had an evil twin? And together, what did they do? I'd remind me. They were kidnapped by aliens. I don't even know what he was saying, but it was something
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, wait. I have an idea. What if Elvis, there were women thinking that they slept with Elvis's ghost? And this guy is like loving it. Like he loves every stupid thing that Sam is telling him.
but then at the end, he goes, but we'll still stick with what we have planned for the week.
Right. We'll still stick with a thing. And then she's like, I bet you that I could do a story like $50 that you couldn't do a real story. Well, let's make it 100. And then she gets a call and she's like, well, here you go. And then they go and they talk to this guy. And this guy's like, I know I saw some aliens come down after I left Scooter's barn. Yeah, I was drunk, but I'm telling you, I saw them. And then he's like,
They
they're just
took
like
my goats.
Sheep, but
them aliens took all my sheep, you see? And they're like, oh, of course, sir. Yes. And then like, let's get out of here. This is pointless.
it was actually somebody else's sheep. But
didn't she say, there you go. Here's your serious story.
Right. It's like, there you go. There's your serious story. And then Al's like, Sam, right over there. That's where Project Quantum Leap is. We're just 7 years away. And then he's like, well, you're over there right now? He's like, well, I'm over here. And then she's like, well, I hope you're in the mood for getting me a expensive bottle of wine. And then he's like, well, you can drink it with some crow. And I was like, oh, she'll eat crow. And then they go to the...
I like that Sam came up with that, and it took Al a moment to get the joke.
Right.
Al has been feeding him jokes.
Right, exactly. So then they walk here, and then she's like, I'm here at this plant with all these, what about the pesticides? And then she starts coughing and wheezing, and then like they take the thing, and I guess Sam notices that there's something wrong with his hand, and he's like, oh, you hurt your hand. And then he's like, the guy was like, well, there was a little fire here. And he's like, yeah, but nobody told us about a fire. Well,
Nobody
like I said, it
reported
was a
it.
little fire.
Yeah.
And then like they just go and remind me, what does Al tell him here? Oh, he's like, Sam, she's gonna drive off a bridge and die. Right? That's what he says.
Yeah.
By the way,
the actor that plays the boss, I love him in Star Trek: The Next Generation. He plays Mark Twain, an older, the Mark Twain that you usually see
In Time Zero.
Right. So he's a good actor.
well, I just I wanted to say that this is what I was thinking to myself, but I'm not sure. You know the movie Anchorman?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
I believe that and you may not know this. I won't say that it's based on a true story, but there is like actual real life events that inspired the movie Anchorman, and in some twist,
I lived that story.
You do?
Of course.
So maybe this is going to be showing my age.
Okay.
But when I was watching this, at first I thought he was playing a Jerry Springer type, but then when I realized it was in an actual news station, was he wasn't a late night talk show host? Like, how is this connected to the news?
Well, I think
it's a
that in
small
the
market.
80s, I think that in the 80s you had somebody like Geraldo who had these kind of shows where he'd have a lot of guests and do a lot of it was very sensational, and he was sort of sensational. They're obviously going in that direction. That's why Al said he's sort of a Geraldo type. So they're going for like a Geraldo clone in this. And
So I guess that's somebody I'm not familiar with. So
Geraldo Rivera, he has a mustache, and he's kind of sensational. Today's probably like considered not sensational at all, considering all the crazy things you have going on. But
it's funny because when I in our little group chat, I was cracking up because the name of the show was Roberto, and I was wondering why. And then I started watching it, and I'm like, oh, Geraldo. And then I looked for a Geraldo Rivera GIF in the library, couldn't find one. And I think Sean said it might be because it's too old. But I'm like, how can Geraldo Rivera be too old?
I know it. I know what it is. And yeah, even Nick didn't know. Maybe it was just a really... a very certain moment in time, but I actually remember Geraldo and his shows and all that stuff. And this Roberto thing is absolutely a Geraldo type.
Yeah, I mean, it's Geraldo. Somebody mentioned Jerry Springer. I mean, it's very much, like all of that.
I said, but like when I think of like Jerry Springer, I just don't, maybe it's on the same station. I just don't see that ever interacting with the local news.
Well, before Jerry Springer made that kind of thing and everybody knew it was a crazy show, there was probably intermediary stage where somebody's like, I'm going to do a real news show where I'm going to invite all these people. But then the crazier the news show got, the more the ratings went up. And then somebody's like, hey, why don't we just make a show with crazy people throwing stuff at each other? And that's how you got to Jerry Springer. Basically, maybe Geraldo was sort of like a temporary... like a stopgap. I don't know how to explain it. Meaning like Geraldo walked so that Jerry Springer could run.
And the one that started it all was the Donahue show.
Yeah.
And Donahue, and Donahue wasn't like Geraldo or Jerry Springer. Donahue was more, subdued. And he was actually, one of the first pioneers into that type of like talk show newsy sort of thing.
Right.
Nobody threw chairs at each other during that show, but then once people started to get crazy, And I worked on the Jerry Springer show in the audio department for a while, and it's nuts to if you're in that world. It nothing is done by chance. The producers, are asked to design the drama and the conflict because of it gets ratings. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is.
So to sum it up, and I agree with everything you said, Ro, I think that Donahue walked so that
Right.
Geraldo could sprint, and Geraldo
Yes.
sprinted so that
So
Jerry Springer could run. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it didn't start off. It's like what you just said. Initially, Donahue, when they started doing this kind of format, Donahue seemed like a legitimate and thoughtful man. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
he
yeah.
didn't come off as like bonkers. But Geraldo probably said, "Why don't I just take it just a little bit further, more outspoken, a little more crazy?" And then like Springer just turned it into like a zoo. You know what I mean?
So in this analogy is the Dr. Phil the cool down lap.
Yeah.
He's sort of an average. No, Dr. Phil is sort of an average of all three of them in a way. Like he takes something from every one of them. There's a bit of nuttiness, but he presents himself as more of a normal dude, even though there's craziness around him. But he's kind of supposedly thoughtful. He's the responsible adult in the room, but he also invited all these lunatics. So it's just a different vibe. Like he learned the lessons of the previous three and made himself look better within the madness, I guess. In any case, so we're here and they're filming this thing, and this is the part where it turns. Oh, I didn't say about Anchorman. So Anchorman, the lady that what's her name? Christina Applegate plays her, Veronica Cornerstone.
Mm-hmm.
So that character is based on a female reporter. And the female reporter that it's based on was like an early pioneer of these kind of news anchors. And she actually drove off a bridge in a car and died.
Wow.
Now, this lady also had a similar death, something that she, I think, drove off a bridge or something. I think that's mentioned here in her car. And I thought that was a tip of the hat.
Oh, interesting.
It was a tip of the hat to that lady who was known. Now, at the time when that lady died, it was like everybody was very serious about it. Later, when you see Anchorman, you're not as serious about it because they made it was inspired by her character, but obviously taken in a weird satirical direction. And the final thing I'll say, and then we'll move on. I don't know if you know this. Do you know how Will Ferrell thought of doing the show Anchorman, the movie Anchorman? There was like one of those either Datelines or I don't know what. No, it's something like a documentary about news anchors. Maybe it was 60 Minutes. I don't know what it was. It was like a documentary, and they talked about this female reporter and how she would like work with all these men and how they were all chauvinists. And apparently, like the initial broadcast of that documentary was super serious. Like there's violins and everybody's super serious. And Will Ferrell saw that like in the middle of the night. And for some reason, all the people that they interviewed for the documentary were all kind of reminiscent of the characters you see in Anchorman. And Will Ferrell said that this is a group of unintentionally funny people that like they didn't know that they were a comedy, but when he saw it, he couldn't stop laughing at these characters and what he was seeing. And I guess even in the middle of the night, he called Adam McKay, the guy that he used to be a partner with until they had a falling out, but that's a whole different story. He called him and he said, "Hey, there's something crazy I just saw on TV. It's this documentary about like anchor people and this anchor woman. And it's a bunch of people that don't realize how funny they are. This is like the funniest thing I've seen. We got to make a movie about it." The other guy said, "Sure, let's do it." And that's how Anchorman was born. But I think that this lady with the bridge was also like a tip of the hat to the same lady that died. So I think this is pretty in-depth.
Yes.
Yeah, I think even
so.
Script is like either impressed or thinking to himself, what is this guy even talking about? One or the other. In any case.
And by the way, I remember those big heavy cameras. We used to call them Jurassic cams because they were so bulky and huge. And
now,
heavy.
what happens here? Does he just tell him that she dies and then he's like, maybe he got her killed, maybe that? What does he say to her, right? And then she's like, "Don't you have to go back to the studio or something?" I don't know if she said that to
Oh,
him.
that's right, something like that. Don't you have a serious story to report on? And then
Right. And then
that's
he's
when
like,
the bikini
"Well,
girls come out.
in the audience, I have 2 ladies. They're college girls, and they were in a calendar for tools, and they got paid $500." And then she's like, "Well, they're objectifying themselves, and that's how they do. They're like prostitutes." I don't know what she says about them.
Let's see.
Well,
She's just saying that that's not the type of thing that they should be projecting, and then she uses that line later on to
she calls them, was it bimbo?
something bimbo with long
Bimbos.
legs, long-legged, bimbos or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, do you see yourselves as bimbos? No, we're free to do with whatever we want with our body. And then
Oh, do you call it art? And she's like, absolutely,
And they
it's
were,
art.
I can't remember what their classes were, but it was showing that like these are intelligent girls. They're not that, but it was interesting, the argument going back and forth, because she's like, men would, aren't expected to do this. And he's like, well, what about, policemen and firemen, and she's like, well, what about you? And it's like, well, I'm not against some of her point, but it's just one of those things. It's like, no, those are good-looking men that do that, just like these are good-looking women that do that. Like,
True, yeah.
average woman in the audience isn't expected to go up there in a bikini.
Right.
Right, exactly. And then at this point, Sam is like, I think Al's like, "Sam, people are supposed to be arguing here. You're too nice to them." So he's like,
oh, that's right.
he's like, "Well, I mean, well, don't you think that they do have a right to do that? Why do you say that about them?" He's like, "Well, I don't see men doing it." And he's going, "What about firemen and calendars?" And he's like, "Oh, come on, most men don't do that. What if you believe in that so much? You could take your clothes off now." And then Sam actually does it.
Sam
I like
says,
the
"No,
censor guy.
that's yeah." Sam is like, "That's I don't have to do that." He goes, "Why? Is that not the image that you want to portray?" And then that's when he basically called her bluff. And the producers got Sam to take his shirt off again. You're
Right,
welcome.
exactly.
You're welcome, ladies.
But I like the TV censor guy going that. I don't know. Well, Ro probably experienced some of this in his career, but I love watching the outtakes from Whose Line Is It Anyways? When they come on and tell them that they can't tell that joke. And it's like, and there was one, they told like a Hitler baby joke or something like that, and then later they got censored for something else, and Drew Carey like just blew up. He's like, "We can talk about baby Hitler doing this," or he's like, "But we can't say that." He just got so mad at the censor guy.
Doc Fortune says, "I'm dropping in as a fan of Price. I liked this show as a kid, but I wasn't a diehard fan." And then thanks for dropping in, though. Nice of you. Tex Rogers says, "Is there a locksmith calendar?"
I wouldn't be in it.
Who knows? And then Tex Rogers saying, "Yes, it's a neat show. I enjoy the people here, but this isn't my most favorite show." Oh, this is a real bombshell. What's your favorite show, Tex? I used to love Whose Line. That's what the dead man says.
I like the old Whose Line, not the. I didn't really like the Drew Carey one.
Oh, you like the British one?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I actually didn't like Whose Line Is It Anyways. One of the reasons is because like I think I could do better than them. They don't impress me. All their improv, they're just annoying. And it's like you're not. I don't know. I mean, some people may get enjoyment out of it. For me, it just looked like annoying. I've taken improv classes.
Well, what's interesting is Colin Mockery. When he was interviewed and someone was asking him, what is it like to be the best improv, and he's like, "We're nowhere near the best. We're just the most well known."
Yeah. He was saying for comedy, Yes Minister, Yes Prime Minister. Those were pretty funny shows. I've seen some episodes of Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. I guess for sci-fi, Tex Rogers likes Babylon 5. I understand. Doc Doctor Who is also way up for sci-fi. Well, whatever used to be Doctor Who, I wouldn't say that today, but back in the day, it certainly was. But how did we get here?
Talking about the sensors.
The sensors that there was
That's
something.
the Who's line, and then he
Oh,
mentioned
whose
the-
line? Whose line? Okay, so
Well,
I was just saying that people may not know this, but back in the day when I kind of wanted to, be a filmmaker or screenwriter, things like that, and I studied film, I had the option to also take courses in classes for acting, and I took a few. Not so much because I thought I would be an actor, but more so that I could just learn something about it. Maybe if I was in a few of these kind of courses, it would give me a feeling as to what an actor goes through, what their process is. So I actually was in a class. It probably lasted like half a year or something, some course. Like I was in a long time in some improv thing, and every time we had to go there and do this improv, I felt weird about it. I felt like I'm like those annoying people on Whose Line Is It Anyways. Thankfully, there was no audience though, so I was just doing my thing, and probably there were most of the people that were in that class with me were kind of snooty, so I think that they enjoyed my humor, but they didn't want to give me the impression that they did because, they wanted to
Because they were
create that
snooty.
image of like
Right.
high-end snooty jerk-offs. Sorry, Nick.
yeah. Well, I like the British one. I like the Drew Carey one the most, and the what's her name's version was not so great. But getting back to Quantum Leap,
Getting back, that man says Price does a good improvisation of Nick Weiner and Dean Stockwell. I don't really think I do either of them well, but thank you. That's nice of you to say. In any case, Sam takes off his clothes, and then like Skeletor tells him that he did another great show, and then like he's talking to Al, and she sees him, Janie or whatever she's name is, like, well, now it's official. You've gone off the deep end. And then he's like, Al, this is so funny that like Al never misses.
There's Jeffrey Dahmer. See it up top.
It
Yep.
is interesting. Al is always, looking
Al
at
is
things
Al is back on form.
Mhm.
back on
I
form.
think
Yeah,
sometimes after a while they forget to write in some little sleazy side eyes for Al.
and then remind me, what is it that she hears on this phone call?
Dead sheep.
Right.
Right, and then in what context? What is she?
Well, it's dead sheep in the area that the drunk guy said he saw the aliens in.
Right. So that gives
well,
some kind of.
it's missing sheep. They don't know that
Or
they're
missing,
dead.
yeah.
And then at this point, Sam gets a call from that guy that had the burnt hand, and he's like,
Mhm.
I have to tell you something. Meet me tonight at 9 p.m. and I'll tell you.
Right.
Sometimes I wish that they actually would say what they want on the call because it's so obvious that this guy is never going to make it anyways. You may as well just say it.
Well, wasn't he afraid that they were being listened to?
Yeah. And what was weird is earlier when Sam was there, Sam caught onto the hand. He was zeroing in on it, and he acted like he was suspicious, like the story wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's on the phone, he's like kind of clueless, like, yeah, why do you want to talk to me? You want to go there? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
It was like, I figured he would have been jumping on it.
Also, I mean, honestly, couldn't the guy have gone like home or to a payphone and made this call? Like he really needed to make
To
this
be
call
there.
from the place
Right.
of business in this place. Okay, let's put it this way. If this
Plot
guy
convenience.
thinks, yeah, I mean, if this guy thinks that they're making like all these like very serious weapons there, whatever he's thinking, and this is the type of people that are doing it, is he really going to take a risk with their own phone and make this call? Now, this isn't even a matter of convenience. This is a matter of you just show him in a scene that he's in a payphone making this call, and the
Mhm.
plot hole goes away.
Right.
All they needed was like a payphone. He's standing around. Yeah, meet me tonight at 9, and that was it. But
Yeah.
I guess they needed him to do it from the factory because otherwise, how would those people have known? Meaning, the fact that he's talking within the factory gives more of a chance that they'll know that he's actually doing the meeting. I guess. Anyhow, they arrive and then they're like, well, I guess it was a hit and run. And then he's like, we got to tell him. We got to tell the police. No, they're not going to do anything. And then they find it, and he's like, look.
His ID.
His ID.
Yo.
Sam doesn't usually yo. And then he's like, they're watching.
She wanted to give the ID back to the police, and he was holding back because he thought they might be able to use it later, or I forgot why they kept it.
He thought the police wouldn't be able to exercise the clue to find who actually did it, ran over the guy. So he decided to. It's a little convoluted for him to say hold on to it because he doesn't know what it is. So as far as he knows, it's just an ID badge. He has no idea it's an RF card.
Right. And he doesn't even find out. It's Al the one that tells him, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he does mention that none of the other guys had those kind of badges when they were going on the tour.
Yeah. Well, we learn later on that it's a new badge, part of the new security system.
Right.
And then what do they talk about here? Remind me.
Talking about why she left Chicago because basically the city air triggers her asthma so severely that she couldn't survive. So she went out to Destiny, New Mexico, where there's not a smog in sight except for this fertilizer plant that triggers her asthma.
Right. Yeah. And she also talked about her career, that she couldn't make it in Chicago because it was too big of a town.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. A little bit. So
well, I think it was the chemicals and different things would cause her asthma to act up in a big city like that. And so
she couldn't perform as coherently as everyone else because she'd have to cut takes because she'd be, having an asthma attack.
I have asthma. I live in Chicago. It's okay.
Yeah, you should live in Chicago in the 21st century.
Like, I don't know if I take that back. I do know people who are like extremely sensitive to perfume. Because we have someone in our congregation, they have to actually wear a necklace with an air purifier, and because they'll have attacks and they have to hold it up and breathe through it. If somebody comes in with the strong perfume or cologne.
I see. Well, in this case, they arrived and they want to do some snooping around, and then this guy shows up and he's, she basically tells him she lost an earring, right?
Sam was pretty quick coming up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
She was pretty quick on the follow through.
And I like this guy too.
What'd you say?
I said I recognize the guy they're talking with right now.
He seems familiar. I don't know why, but he does.
I know he's from at least MacGyver.
Yeah.
For sure, we've seen him somewhere before. He looked very familiar to me as well. And then he's like, I don't know if I can let you in there. He's like, well, the boss told us we can go in. I don't know what. You can tell him in the morning. It's 3 a.m. I don't know what. So he's not going to call. He's like, oh, right, Roberto. So I guess he recognizes Roberto. He's just like, well, you can go on ahead. In real life, I don't know that this guy would ever allow this, but whatever. He'd at least at minimum go with them.
Yeah, this one is kind of convoluted too, because he would at least supervise them around.
Right. He'd be like, okay, let's walk together. Let's find the earrings. So at least he knows that they're not going to, that he would just let him like ride around when he obviously knows this place is a fishy place. Like he's not an idiot. He knows what goes on here. So that he would just let him hang around is like, in reality, he like, there's nothing that they could say that would let him in there. He'd be like, I'm sorry, you can't go in, or he goes with them if he really doesn't want to stink.
He'd also be giving them safety helmets and telling them like that. You tell me what section you were in, I'll take you there, and I'll make sure we help look for it carefully and safely. Because again, this is a factory and a plant. Right. There's danger and chemicals, and I don't even know if they're ISO 9000 safety compliant or not. So.
Right, there's a bunch of stuff that this guy could have done, and he doesn't do any of it. But whatever.
He's like, go ahead, take the cart, roll around.
Yeah, take the cart, Roberto. Do whatever you want. And then they arrive, and of course they see this thing that implies that there's like some chemical weapon thing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then these guys.
Is it implied though that he ended up calling his boss after all, or is it that they opened that door and it triggered an alarm that his boss was notified? Because when he comes back, his boss has told him that they want to find them and get them out of there.
Yeah, those two guys say silent alarm was triggered, and then
Okay.
I think that's where the boss kind of makes the connections and says, "Okay, come with me, let's go." And he's also kind of saving his own butt because he did let those two reporters just snoop
wander in
around
there, right.
freely in the corridors of this plant.
Yeah.
All very fishy. But okay, so then they ride.
I almost expected Austin Powers to come in on that little cart and then try to do a 3-point
Totally.
turn. But this is a great little gag where Al is kind of floating next to the cart.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of clever.
He's on like a side runner too.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
There is a moment when it looked like it was the perfect shot, like it was setting up for them to go through Al.
Yes,
And then they
I
didn't do
remember
it,
that.
and I was like, I was
that
thinking,
would have been
they're going-
perfect.
And then they didn't. I'm like,
Yeah.
that
I
totally
remember
felt like
that.
they were setting it up for it.
Mm-hmm.
Props to Dean Stockwell for maintaining his balance so steadily while
Yeah. Right.
on this, because even though they're not going that fast, it's still not
Still,
even ground.
Unless there's like some sort of support in his pants or something.
Like he stepped in.
Because he's
kind
not
of like a cast. That's
he's not even waving back and forth, but he walks. Well, this could be a different shot, but he's not even.
yeah.
The motion's not even affecting him.
I mean, well, usually, I don't know if they would do that because it's pretty expensive to do a leg cast and then affix it to something for him to stand.
You
in.
can
Like
do
a
it. You can
background
do.
thing?
You can do kind of like a gorilla form of like even a C stand with a clamp, a tight clamp, and it's strapped to his his right leg, so it just doesn't move.
Yeah, that could probably be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the background fake and they're not moving at all?
No, the background's real
it's
because
real.
it shifts focus. So
It would be a lot more expensive to do all that stuff. I mean, this is a cheap
is all
way
in
of
camera.
doing it. Yeah.
This part confused me a bit because after they managed to get, oh, here, I found my earring, and then they like go and they're like,
They're
she's
kind of like celebrating, but they're a little. I thought something was going to happen here.
I
like,
thought so too. I
romantically,
thought
too.
that this this made her very kind of excited, and that
Mhm.
she was getting.
Jiggy
Then she
with
like
it.
hugs him like he's her brother. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like a second before the brotherly hug, she seems like something else going to happen. Like she seems like really excited,
Right.
and then she's like,
Like
"You'll
a
always
s-
be like a brother to me." I mean, she doesn't say that, but that's what the hug looks like. And then they go
Right.
away, and then they tell the boss, and they're like, and he's like, "Chemical weapons inside the thing. There's no chance." And he's just like, he doesn't believe any of it, and he thinks it's nonsense.
Right.
And then they go here, and they're like, they decide they're gonna,
This is another for me. This is another plot hole too, because
how did they even get into this
how
point?
did they get in there with the crew and everybody? It's like, really?
You know what? It's a good plot hole. It's a good point. I mean, how did they just, everybody's already on alert.
just-
They know if they were
right.
fishing around. Nobody trusts them. Everybody knows that they're bad news, no pun intended. And then, they come here and they're just like you said, they're inside this thing as if they own the joint.
Right.
And, these guys, it's not like some stealth operation. They have like a crew and stuff. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And yeah, because it's not like they have a warrant. It's not like there's some journalistic
they're
right or law to.
Yeah. I mean, we can't trespass. Like if we go out and shoot like interviews of people, we can't even step on the grounds of like a Jewel parking lot or anything like that, or a public school, because that would be trespassing. So we have to stay on the what do you call it, on the public sidewalk. So what they're doing is kind of goofy.
Which it
Yeah.
should clue them in.
Oh, Albertsons, for those of you who are not in the Midwest.
No.
Albertson is like Acme and Safeway, right?
Right.
Yes, like Safeway, yeah.
Yeah.
Where I'm at, Albertson is called Acme, but I
Oh,
think
okay.
that on California, I think it's actually Safeway. I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Well, yeah, Lucky's did merge. Yeah, because you had Safeway and Vaughn's and
Yeah.
Lucky's. Yeah.
Now
That's
they're
all.
like the Voltron of like supermarket or whatever.
Right.
But anyhow, yeah. So
Well,
they
they
have this.
are merging to survive, but
Right.
when they're doing this, so The only reason why I think he's allowed them to do this is because he wants it to fall flat on their face.
Right. They changed the lock. They removed the wall. They cleaned things up inside the room, right?
And
Yeah.
the fact that they think somehow this plan, like the fact that they don't catch on that this is not going to go well for them is kind of.
Yeah. So at this point,
it's a big contrivance.
they go in, and then it's like nothing, and they're like, "Sam, they put a wall. It's a fake wall. Everything is there. A bunch of dirt inside." And then they shut it down. Like
they pull the plug.
they pull the plug. Sorry, guys. And then
And you know when old TV shows do this thing where they're going live from inside, and then somebody back at the station is watching it, there's never like a microwave truck anywhere nearby. And even if there were, that's another thing they'd have to kind of sneak past security.
Yeah, because the cables only run so far on those when they want to go inside.
Unless you have fiber, which they don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, fiber wasn't even commonly used until like the mid 90s at best, and super expensive back then.
90, 93.
then you go, well, what about this thing? Yeah, I don't know.
That's part of an ongoing investigation that we're withholding from the police. I'm sorry we're doing that, interfering with an investigation.
And then I think, but what do we do now? Well, tomorrow morning she dies of asthma.
How?
Right?
Yeah.
And then they show up, and
Does the show? That was the show of people who are in love with their fruits and vegetables.
Oh, that's right.
oh, okay. That's what this was. Okay.
I'm trying to look for another plot hole because I saw that microphone.
Remind me what happened here. What was this thing?
So
this is them.
one-
They're trying to hack into the system.
So this is a dodgy area because it's 1982 computers. Even in small television networks like them, internet or connecting to various other systems is not an easy task to do, and not a lot of people know how to do it. So it's kind of funny that she's searching a public payroll to try and find the fertilizer company or the pesticide company's computer, and then Sam decides to use the 6-digit code that's on the security guard's pass ID to access their network, which I would think for a pesticide company at that time, they wouldn't be on a network. They'd have a mainframe system because it's cheaper and easier to do. And they wouldn't even really need email or anything of that nature. It's all internal stuff, printouts and still paper. So this part seems a little of a stretch of a credulity, in my opinion.
Plot contrivance.
Yeah. But
there's
with
a lot
Ziggy's
of it
help,
in
they
this
hack
show.
into it.
Yeah, right.
All
There's
right.
a lot
Well,
of that
they
stuff.
hack into it, and yeah, it's great. They have they're hackers now. This is a episode that really, I will say though, this episode does kind of try a lot of different things, like if nothing else. Anyhow, they arrive here, and then what does this guy tell this other guy? Remind me.
Get rid of them. Only kill the girl, because if you killed both journalists, that'll be suspicious, and we can buy off Roberto there with some cash.
Yeah, he basically pegs her as the believer, and him as just chasing
the grifter. Yeah.
The guy. Interesting.
Which is a nice little jab at Geraldo.
I mean, I think that by the time they made this, it was before Geraldo did that thing, but there was something that he said that he had Al Capone's glove compartment or something.
Oh, the Al Capone thing actually came years after people already started distrusting Geraldo as a credible.
Right. So I'm saying that
that was the last nail in the coffin.
Yeah, even when he started his daytime talk show, people were like, "Oh God, he's basically given up on actually investigative reporting." Because truth be told, he was never really good at it.
Well, the funny thing is that them going into an empty room kind of mirrors the glove compartment. Only the thing is this happened before the other one. It's more like life imitating art, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, or basically seeing this type of guy is so gullible that the odds of him actually doing some sort of stunt like this are pretty high. So we're going to just go ahead and do our own. I mean, that's actually like so I knew some writers that used to work on the Simpsons cartoon show, and there's always that little story that the Simpsons predicted the future. They didn't. They just knew how to read people well enough to say, would they do this ridiculous thing? And they would kind of just make up all these various factors, and then they would do the one that they think is the most funny. And oddly enough, that ended up becoming part of reality, because it's where you just nail a person's characteristics and understanding of them so well that when you tell a joke that they would do, and then a few years later, or even a few decades later, they end up doing that exact thing, it seems kind of eerie, but it's just one of the things of writers is you got to really understand characters, especially if you're going to be parroting real people in society.
And they've done it as an art form.
Yeah, they have.
Anyhow, I just want to look at some comments from people here. So we had so many comments. I'm just trying to catch up. See, this seems to be a reference to Al Capone's Empty Vault. So yeah, that Kit Kat said the same thing. And what was it? Marla Sharendorf says one of Scott's three favorite episodes of Enterprise. Archer went on trial for doing what the Klingons promised but didn't. I have seen all the episodes of Enterprise, but I'm not 100% sure which episode that is. Maybe I need to rewatch it. And then Super Mario Brothers 3 says project date January 7th, 1982.
So wait, was it 86 that Geraldo tried to do Al Capone's Vault?
I don't know, but if he did it before this, then that would mean that,
they're making fun of him after that.
Right, they're making fun of him for sure.
Because I do remember like the special, what was it? It was oh God, I can't remember. It was something of Al Capone's Vault. It was either like the location or the mystery or
it was the safe.
The safe. Okay.
Yeah, and it was 1986.
It was 86. Okay. So
so they're making fun of him. Yeah.
They're making fun of this year. Yeah.
Okay, well that's good to know.
And that was on Roosevelt and State Street. There's a Starbucks there now.
I see. Marlo Sharendorf says, I've seen all of Enterprise. Tex Rogers tells Marlo Sharendorf what I said, that he remembers Enterprise, doesn't remember that episode, and I didn't either. And then
there's a Star Wars dad joke in there for Ro.
Where?
Oh, there it is. Ron. Do you know why Darth Vader was titled Lord Vader? Why, Ron? Tell me.
It's the next line.
Because the stormtroopers kept laughing at Master Vader. Here. Better yet.
I am your father.
It doesn't stop after a while, so I'll just put it over here. Good one, Ron. Good one.
Anyhow, what was I going to say?
They're apologizing to me. It's like...
Yeah, I apologized to you before because I said some things. The Dead Man doesn't trust Acme products, especially rocket sleds. Yes. That I'll tell you the truth. I had next to me like A&P, and I always loved A&P. And then
that's showing your age,
I guess. But then what happened was the A&P became Acme because of some merger of supermarkets. So what happened was that I was really annoyed because Acme sounded like the thing from the Bugs Bunny, right. And I'm like, A&P sounds like I'm going to the supermarket. Acme, I'm like Bugs Bunny, and I got really annoyed. But over time, I got over it. It's strange branding that's what it's called. Marla Sharendorf says Archer was sentenced to life in prison on a mining prison, but Malcolm Reed got him out. Archer's lawyer stayed to serve out his sentence. His lawyer guested on Quantum Leap. Seabride. I see. Interesting. And then Tracy Alexander, nice to see you here as well. We have a really nice group here today. And Maraxra is here. Did you have to go to Mount Pilot to go to the A&P? I don't know what that means.
Neither do I.
Mount Pilot.
Anyhow, back to let's do the part 2. Even though I know,
I think they're trying to GPS you, Price.
I see. I'm not next to Mount Pilot, so I guess not. But let's go share the screen. We're going to share
Oh, that's right. Real
Roberto
change.
part 2. Ron Donofero, he doesn't like it when there's 2 files, but sometimes, Ron, there's nothing you can do.
How else would we have all this witty retort in between reels?
Right. It's the intermission. It's the changing of the reels. That way that we got a little time to like talk and see what everybody's saying. So at this point, they do their hacking thing.
And then they get caught. Well, I mean, at this point, Sam figures out the chemicals compounds that they're using, and one of them is something that's 10 times as potent as traditional pesticides and can cause a lot of problems. And then by the time they're about to print off the information, their transmission is disconnected and they have to reestablish another link, which again, not an easy thing to do in 82 when you don't know much about computers.
Right. And you do know that like if the thing disconnects, it just disconnects. It's not going to tell you that the transmission is disconnected with like a huge font that's
Right.
like on
And then
An imposed
things
font.
all over.
right. It looks crooked, the font, like it's not even the right
It's not
angle.
justified or
No,
It's
it's
not-
actually like about -5 degrees on an angle, and it's
Right.
curved to match the curvature
I-
of the monitor, but it's not justified to the
I wonder
right.
if it's I wonder if this is added in post. It kind of looks that way.
It looks
It
like
probably
it does.
is,
Yeah.
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 It is, and they did it very quickly, and they're like, screw it. Nobody's gonna notice that it's like not straight. It looks really fishy. So then
Oh no, we've been
But it's
disconnected, y'all.
funny, even though it wouldn't be something that you would expect in that time period, it is the kind of thing that like people were writing about in that time period. Even though this is only a decade later, like everybody was kind of because it was the unknown thing. And when you look at all the stuff from the 80s of what they thought computers would be able to do, it's funny what they thought with how limited computers were at the time.
Is this
I'm
an
surprised
Easter
the
egg?
access code is Beetlejuice.
Yeah, right.
yeah, that's strange. And this actually doesn't this doesn't look superimposed. This I think is real.
Yeah,
But the other one looked weird.
for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe the other one they're just like, oh, let's put in transmission disconnected, and somebody thought of it in post.
Yeah.
So
Here's another plot hole. This guy just walks into the newsroom.
Yeah, nobody notices them. No
Right.
night security.
that is very strange. They
Remember,
just
they're a small town. Everybody kind of knows everybody.
they just go in and out of each other's factories and businesses, and
Right.
nobody suspects a thing.
Yeah.
And then
Front gate too.
And then he wakes
So-
up the boss and says, "She's dead, Jim."
and then he invites him to the show or something.
No,
Well, basically,
he
the
wants
guy
to
tries
invite
to
him
bribe
the
him with
show.
$50K and as a scholarship, that he's
yeah.
the trustee of. And Sam says, "Come on my show. I want $100K, and you have to come on my show." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, you got yourself a deal."
Right. And then they basically they seem like chummy and whatever. I like, by the way, Ro, what did you think of it that they
Oh, this little effect.
that they did the monitors rather than the mirrors?
Yeah, I liked it. It's obviously we're in an environment that it's a TV studio, and I think they did it well.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously this is a recording,
You're right.
and
But
the
it's
actor
timed
who they
well.
got to play the body, his name is Andrew Roa, and he's been around for a while. He's still acting to this day, so he did a good job. Like him and working with Scott Bakula to really sync up their lips together for
Yeah, pretty
this
good.
thing.
Yeah, I agree. So you have this thing.
And Ron, yes, this is a lot easier to do rather than try to coordinate 2 actors on a mirror with 1 shot.
Yep.
So at this point, he has him here, and
Go back real fast. This is a plot hole that only a television person that uses microphones would understand. That microphone is a Shure SM63L, and those were not made until the mid 90s.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I thought you were gonna say that he needed more of a condenser mic, and this is more of like,
No, it's fine.
No,
But-
actually, traditionally at that point, they would have had a microphone that had a longer handle to it, kind of similar to what Bob Barker used on The Price is Right for years.
The little thin ones.
There's little
those-
thin ones, but there's also the ones that are medium. I can't remember the serial number on or the style of that model number for it. But
Yeah, Bob Barker's microphone always freaked me out as a kid. It was like a stick.
so this is where Sam brings in like, his big plan. He has the inhaler, and he basically explains to him that in there is like dangerous chemicals or whatever it is.
Right.
they said that if she was murdered, it would have
dangerous
it
chemical.
would be from this with severely dangerous toxic chemicals that you, sir, have access to at your pesticide plant. And he just kind of builds it up.
And he's like,
And-
"No, that's ridiculous." But since he knows the truth, when he sprays him with it, he panics, and there should be no reason for him to panic unless
Right.
Did he
knew
spray him?
something.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, after she shows up and they surprise that she's alive and not dead.
We kind of skipped over it real fast, but the scene when the guy was putting it there,
Yeah,
I was kind of like, how could Sam not notice?
right.
Like, I get that he's like into it, but like the guy's.
Well, the
Why is
scene
it
that they
out
put
there
him there,
helping him?
they wanted them to put it there because maybe Sam suspected that they would plant poison in her thing, so they pretended they were sleeping so the guy would think that he was successful. That's what I thought.
Well, he wasn't even pretending he was sleeping. He was just pretending he was waking. It's just like the guy doing it. It just seemed very.
They wanted this to happen. I mean, this is what their whole plan is. Once they got
I
him,
get that, but just like them going to film that was kind of what we said. Like that didn't make sense. Why did they think they could be doing that? Him as a guy trying to commit this murder. Why does he think he can just go into the news station?
yes, that is
and
stupid.
walk behind the guy and do that?
Stupid, very, very stupid. I agree with you. It's ridiculous. Them going there and him going to their office and trying to hide it is even dumber than them going to the factory and nobody notices, or they're equally as dumb. Very, very dumb. I agree.
I like envision her like at the coffee shop and him trying to like slip a tainted one in her purse or something.
Right.
Him going to her work and trying to sneak up behind a person to do it.
Crazy.
It's just weird.
And then basically this leads to the arrest of that guy. And I guess does Alt say what happens to him? Anything, or what does he say? Is this going to give him a big show or a big contract? Anything? Do we know anything, or just
Nope, nothing.
nothing?
The
advantages.
jump is a little abrupt. What did she say that triggered the jump? I can't remember.
They agreed to a date basically.
Well, he offered her champagne and she said
Oh, that's
no.
right. Yeah, it seemed abrupt, but I think it's. I
They
don't know.
referred to the bet, and then they were having a little playful back and forth, and then it kind of ended at not saying it, but kind of saying that they were gonna pursue something, or not pursue, but
Yeah.
get together, because it was kind of a back and forth repertoire.
She loves him like a brother. That's what was happening, like in the staircase.
But at the beginning, we already know what happens to his character. As long as he didn't screw it up, he was about to get some big deal.
Right. Well, that's another thing. Initially, he was supposed to get the big deal, but then after they said that she dies, now it turns out that he's not going to be Roberto anymore because of something that happened.
Well, when she dies, he gets some money and then he disappears, no longer in television anymore. So in this case here, presumably he continues his television career, and so does she.
I see. So originally he took the money. He was bribed.
Yeah, originally he took the money and vanished.
Ah, interesting. So Roberto is kind of a jerk.
Of course he is. He's got a daytime talk show host where he sensationalizes innocent people for profit.
So then he arrives, and this is the cab one. It's a Wonderful Life. I don't know where he runs over that lady. We'll get that. But
We'll get to that
talk-
next week.
exactly.
That's an episode.
Right. So that's that, and then I guess let's do our usual round table. Yeah, the dead man also says the leap was abrupt, just like you said. The real Roberto. Let's see. The real Roberto would have Swiss cheese memories of the abduction. Oh yeah, isn't there something that he says at the end? This script, you reminded me this, that he's like,
yeah, he
next
talks
week.
he talks about his next the show tomorrow with the various segments, and one of them is being I'm going to reveal a personal story where I was abducted by aliens and trapped in a white room for a week.
Right, exactly, which was funny. That's probably the best part of the episode.
Yeah.
And then Tex Rogers really enjoys this one, but it's not in his top 5, but it's up there. Whereas Tex Rogers, that's what Sam alludes to. Yes, I
knew he
never
was
noticed
talking about the
before.
show overall.
Ron Donofrio says he groups it with the fun episode, middle third-ish. Mary White says there's a lot of suspension of disbelief, but still a fun one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to agree. I guess there were some plot holes that people noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And Super Mario Brothers 3 asked if they had those green lamps in 1982. I'm not sure.
Are you talking about the desk lamps?
I guess.
Yeah, he had his name on it too, Roberto. It was sitting on
Oh,
his window.
Fontgate. How do we get?
Somebody said it was Fontgate too.
Oh,
Really?
Lisa Gadryan said it was Fontgate too. Why? Because we saw that they pasted the font in
yeah,
post-production.
Yeah.
In the
Nobody
computer
likes the
monitor.
font.
Yeah.
The price went like way too hard on that.
Doc Fortune, the show I was thinking was called The Odyssey, according to Grok. Not sure.
Like Homer's version, or like one of the various derivatives that pretends to be Homer's version, like modern day Odyssey.
I guess a lot of people were talking. Oh, Marla Sherendorf said Judgment. That's the one that Captain Archer appears for. A Klingon tribunal charged with attacking a Klingon spaceship and inciting a rebellion. Now I vaguely remember something. Now that you say it, it does ring true to me. Like I remember something like that. Lisa Katrine likes this too, but can't really explain why. And I think I agree with some of the ideas here. With some of the people that are saying that there's something fun about this episode. I like that they were trying to do something that we haven't exactly seen before. We've been talking about how season 4 seems to be an episode of like swings and misses, but at least on occasion, I like that they tried to do something different. There's a bit of like a Geraldo thing going on, but there's also a bit of like a spooky conspiracy theory mystery going on. Even was there aliens or not aliens, or these people with the poison? It's there's things here that are fun, and it's put together in a way that's fun to see, even though there are also issues with it. How did you feel about this episode, Ro?
I enjoyed it. I know it had a lot of plot contrivances and plot holes as we were talking about it, but I think it was a solid show. It was a little bit of a mystery thing going. I think I'm with the chat. I like it, but I can't explain like specifically why. It had a lot of, story elements that kind of kept me interested, and I don't know. I enjoyed it for what it was. Not too deep, but one thing that I am noticing, and I think Price, you said it earlier regarding this season, it does seem like they're changing things up a little bit. They're kind of mixing the pot a little bit, and I like that. I like that we're getting some different stories or interesting stories coming around this season, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season as we go through the series. But yeah, some of them have not hit truly like they should have, but I like the fact that they're trying to kind of like redefine how to tell a quantum leap story, and I think this might have been one of them.
I tend to agree with what you're saying. And Ron Donofero says everyone hit like with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Ron Donofero, who's also a member of this channel. Of course, we love it when you hit like. So if you feel like doing that, we're all for it. And thank you for the super chat, Ron Donofero.
Doc Fortune has a question that maybe Script knows because he's asking for any Canadians for a Canadian show, sci-fi show about a kid who went into a coma and started living this fantasy life in a comatose state, and that's what they thought maybe the Odyssey was.
Oh, yeah. That's where like there's no adults in the fantasy world, if I remember correctly. They're all kids. And yeah, okay, I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Okay, so He's confronting the Odyssey. So I guess Gronk told him that's what it was.
Oh, okay. Good for Grok. See if you can find Doghouse. That was another Canadian sitcom that had a cop whose body was consciousness was put into a dog, and he used to be a cop, and now he's a talking dog to a family with an intrusive neighbor.
I saw a movie like that called Dog Man.
You saw that too, Price?
What'd you say?
You saw that too?
I saw the movie Dog Man, yeah.
I made a promise to my wife, because if I didn't have to go see Mufasa, that I would take my daughter to Dog Man, and she would take it to Mufasa.
I didn't love Dog Man. It made me sad. You know why it made me sad? Because I said to myself, this is what kids are watching now. This kind of sucks. What happened is that I actually went to the theater. I have a thing like... What'd you say? What?
I said, what's worse is I'd already read her the book. That was word for word what was in the book.
Oh, it was one of those adaptations?
Yeah, it was straight up book one from the book.
I saw Mufasa and Dogman, but the truth is I live pretty close to a theater and I have like a monthly pass that I could go, I can go to movies all the time. And I think that I was seeing a different movie. And as I exited that movie, this one was about to start. I didn't even know what it was. I thought maybe it's something cool like Dogman. You know what I mean? Like I thought maybe there's I didn't realize it was for very young children. And then I sat there and there were a few parents with like young kids and they were looking at it. And I'm like, oh, this is probably going to be awful. And then I sat there and it was like ADHD, the movie.
It's one of those books where I think they asked like a 4 or 5 year old, like, come up with an idea for me. And then they wrote the book for like 6 to 10 year olds. But the whole concept and everything in it is very much from the mind of a very little kid. Like
Monster Trucks, the Paramount film?
I didn't see that, but no, I mean, it's all about a dog and his, a cop and his dog partner. They're in an explosion. And so the body of one is destroyed and the head of the other is destroyed. So the doctors just decide to sew the dog's head on the man's body.
Okay, well, that's much darker than the sitcom that I watch, where electrical, basically just electricity just switched their minds from from each body, and the dog survives and the human body dies. But that means that the dog's soul died with the human body, so that's tragic.
Yeah. And then they have him come back, and like the wife has left him for a new man, and they got a new dog.
Right.
So there's 2 replacements. Yeah, that's twisted.
Marla Farendoff says Tara guested, her sister Tara guested on Doghouse. Were you talking about it? Her scene was filmed at my school.
Oh yeah, Doghouse is a Canadian show.
I see. And the Dead Man with a $5 super chat. Thank you, the Dead Man. Script and everyone else. The poop emojis I send are out of love because I think it's funny. Don't take it as a bad thing. See you Saturday. No offense taken, man. I have no issue when you send poop emojis. I know that they are a sign of respect and
and relief too, because
they're very appreciated, as well as the $5 super chat. We always appreciate you, man. Thank you and your support. And then Super Mario Brothers 3 video for Glitter Rock can be seen on one of the TV monitors in this episode. I didn't see that. Didn't know that either. Respect the poop. Absolutely.
Oh, that's a new T-shirt.
So I guess Rose said his thoughts on it. Script, did you say what you thought of this episode?
I thought it was slightly above average. It did return to the classical form of Sam has a problem. There's a biting romantic interest, but in this case, it doesn't have a payoff for it. So it's a little
I didn't like
different.
the lack of payoff. It seems like they wanted a payoff, and then they pulled the rug from under him. But never mind. Go on.
Yeah. Al was better. Al was more like Al in this, which was nice because last week's episode he was a little off. And it was a traditional type of mystery. Is like, what's this plant doing this? And it's also about like exploitation under the guise of capitalism. Like they're trying to create a great product because they know it's going to be good for their company and whatnot, but it's coming at the expense of their customers, which is not in favor of capitalistic market philosophy. So I thought that was actually pretty decent, and more in line with traditional Quantum Leap episodes, especially for like the first and second season. So yeah, it's them trying to like recapture their original form, and it's a good it's a good episode that mocks a lot of aspects of corporations and media, and then puts it up against Janny, who wants to be a legitimate journalist, like seeking out the truth and sharing that with knowledge with the world because they have a right to know. So I like that little trichotomy, if you will.
I agree with you. I thought that there was, like I said, they tried different ideas here, and yeah, there were some contrivances here, but I think that there is a feeling of fun here, of attempting a lot of different ideas, and you kind of, I like it when they try things that are different, even if they don't always like land 100%. Nick, how did you feel about this episode?
I liked it. I also think it felt very season 1-2 feeling to it, and a very MacGyver feeling to it, because there's a MacGyver episode about a secret plant making toxic waste that kills animals, and so it felt very much like that episode in some ways. And the stuff with the key card and stuff like that felt very, when we were talking about the hacking and a lot of the different things that were in this episode felt more like how movies and TV shows in the 80s portrayed the 80s than how the 80s actually were. And so I think that's where we got some of these plot holes. I think it's too close to when this show comes out that everybody, instead of realistically looking and researching what would or wouldn't be in the 80s, they're just going off of what media showed the 80s to be.
Yeah, there's also an issue with, because we mentioned how Project Quantum Leap is just on the other side of the hill of destiny, Nevada, New Mexico. And he says we started it 7 years from now, but we've learned from the history up until this point that Al and Sam had been working on the Quantum Leap project for almost a decade before they actually started testing. So that doesn't line up with 89 and the
unless that's just when they created that facility.
Yeah, exactly. But
elsewhere,
it's really like it makes it more confusing now as to when Quantum Leap back home takes place.
It still kind of surprises me that they set it so close to the show.
Yeah.
I would have imagined they would have put it a little further off. Why
did they even have it in there? It could have been taken out and no foul, no worry.
Yeah, because they play. I mean, the gimmick is that you travel, or Sam travels through his own lifetime from conception to death, and Scott Bakula was like in his, I think, mid to late 30s at that point. And they tried to fudge his age a little, but I think I don't think they gave it as much thought as they wanted to, or they gave it too much thought at the beginning and then realized maybe it doesn't line up properly, and they didn't know how to reconcile that. Because again, like technically speaking, once you get into the 5th season, Sam would technically be like 47 or 48 years old. And clearly Scott Bakula is not pushing 50 in that show. So yeah, it's I think they were still, I think they had an incomplete show Bible, I think, at this point. And now they're just trying to patch it up as they're experimenting with newer stories.
They did some patchwork here for sure. So I guess the final thing that maybe we could just very quickly talk about, and then we should wrap it up, is this was Scott Bakula's episode that he directed. And overall, personally, I whatever issues that were here more had to do, in my opinion, with screenplays. But I thought that his directing was fine, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was serviceable. I don't think that it wasn't like that episode that Ro got upset that they were in the forest and they didn't even think about lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they really disappointed Ro, in the forest.
They did that in a weekend.
Pretty much.
Right. This one at least, had something. There were some shots and some things, like even Al on that car that he's kind of, like you mentioned. The only thing, that crooked font, what Lisa Katrine said was Fontgate 2. That's my main criticism to Scott Bakula. But aside from that, I thought it was pretty good. I don't even think I saw Al walk through something in this one.
Yeah, he walked through the wall when they opened the wall.
Oh,
or
that's
the
right. That's
room,
right.
and
When
there
he
was
wanted to
nothing
see
in
the
there.
thing. That's right.
Yeah.
It was weird because there was a moment when I thought they weren't going to do it, because it's like they're sitting there and I'm like, why doesn't Al immediately go through
Right.
and say, it's right here, Sam? I actually expected Sam, when they were doing that, I was thinking it was a fake wall that had just been put in. And I thought Sam was going to go grab the cart and drive through the wall.
Right. Yeah. I
Thank
think,
you, Ron, and thank you everybody that's here. And
Yeah.
I think he did a good job directing Marla, and I also think that Will Tex Rogers says that he doesn't have enough knowledge to know if a directing is good or not. But I will say this: sometimes, even if you don't have all the technical knowledge and you don't know all the ins and outs, you can tell when you're watching something and it just feels kind of off,
Yeah.
even if you don't know how to explain it. I think that a lot of times, even when I studied, film back in the day, I think that even people in classes that I was at, I was given this impression that maybe a moviegoer doesn't know when a screenplay isn't written well, but he knows that he's watching something that he doesn't like, that's not
Yeah.
working for him. He may not be able to dissect it and go into every reason as to why it's not working, but he is able to know that what he's looking at looks stupid. And just like when you saw like these kind of cheapo direct-to-DVD movies or some kind of movie in the middle of the night that you could tell had like a $5 budget and was like made by a very amateur crew, you can kind of feel it. You just feel that the acting isn't good, that the camera angles, and that everything kind of looks cheap and feels cheap. But I think that in this case, obviously Scott Bakula had an experienced crew that knew him and was working here.
Right.
It's a very supportive atmosphere of him directing an episode within the setting of crew members that he already knows and all that stuff. But with that being said, I think that the episode came out fine, and it certainly didn't hurt the fact that he was the director. So that's just my opinion on it. I guess we have to start wrapping up. I want to thank everybody that was here. I'm going to quickly go over all of this as much as I can. I love seeing the chat so active. There's so many people in the chat saying so many things, and I really love that. Super Mario Brothers 3, Robnut Scubla, Ron Donofero, Tex Rogers, Marla Sharondoff, Kit Kat, and then Lisa Katryan, Mary White. I saw Maroxtra here for sure. I said Marla Sharondoff, I think. Super Mario Brothers 3. I said, well, The Dead Man, and thank you for the super chats. I saw Tracy Alexander at some point, although she was rather quiet. And then, so The Dead Man sent a super chat one for $2. I saw that. And then later he sent another one, I think, for $5. Ron Donofero sent one too. I'm going as quickly as I can. Storm King, thank you for stopping by. And Lisa, I see Lisa saying hi to Tracy Alexander. Yeah, I know she was here. She was here. I'm not imagining it. And then we had Doc Fortune here, which was nice to see him. I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I missed somebody, I'm sorry. I try my best to say hi to everybody. I didn't see Matthew McGee, but maybe he's going to do the replay along with Joshua Calkins, a few other people. DJ Play Nice usually appears in the replay. Urkel DeStefano. And
Well, given our numbers, a lot of people join in the replay. We just don't know who they are.
right. No,
Make
sometimes I
yourself
get even
known.
something in the text, like in the messages in the comments, and somebody's like, "I'm part of the replay," and it's somebody that I didn't know or something. So yeah, I mean, listen, there were plenty of times that I listened to chats, listened to streams, and didn't participate in the chat. That happens probably more often than not. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. I really like the people that are active here and that they hang out with us. I also appreciate the people that check it out later in their own time. And we appreciate everybody. Once again, I appreciate also the chat and the gentlemen here in the panel. Ro from the Sacrif Podcast, also known as the Sacrif Scuttlebutt Podcast, co-founder of the Red 5 Network. He is Nick is part of the Red 5 Network as well. It's a network of podcasters, which Ro is the co-founder of. And Scripts has Scripts on Saturdays on his channel at 7 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. And Tracy Alexander says, I'm still here listening, ironing out content and putting out fires from this past weekend. I see. Good to know. And then I guess I usually like to put these links. I'm just going to do that, and then we'll run away. Podcast. It's unfortunate, but my main channel has disappeared from YouTube. Well, not disappeared from YouTube, but disappeared from searching, which is not a good sign.
The Price of Reason channel?
If you write Price of Reason, you'll see Price of Reason live. My other one's been buried very low. And they don't like I don't want to. What'd you say?
I said it comes up for me, but it's interesting. It doesn't show it as I'd have to click on one of your videos.
That's exactly what I mean. But the thing is that
the channel thing up at the top for Price of Reason Live is interesting.
Right, but what I'm saying is it used to be that you saw the main one and under it Price of Reason Live. That's what used to happen when you search for Price of Reason. They've removed it, and I think that generally that's not a good sign. There's a few other things that have been going on that are concerning, but not much I can do. In any case, here, Super Mario Brothers noticed that too. He notices a lot of things. And then Script Doctor, I need to share your thing as well. It's kind of sad because I worked so hard on my main channel. The dead man said, did you say something about Ukraine or Israel? You know what? On my main channel, I don't even know. I think that if I had to guess, there was something that I talked about, some journalists that wrote some articles that had to do with Disney and some movies. It seems weird it seems strange that I was thinking of that lady with a weird thing. It seems strange that would be an issue, but I don't know. Hard to say. I just put in the chat. I put the channels, and let me find Nick's channel. I think Ron Donafero was asking what happens if you
was in there now.
Did you put yours as well, Nick?
No, but I put yours.
Okay, so let me put yours. Backyard Tardis. Okay. Now I'm going to put Nick's. Nick says it's Cybersonic, but it's actually Nick's. For Ron Donafero, I'm also on the green on the Rumble thing. If I don't know if it's good to say Rumble or not, but I usually say it, so screw it. So yeah, it's on Rumble. Yeah, I am on Rumble, so you can catch me there as well. Let me see if I can.
Nick, I apologize for Price. He said screw it.
No, that wasn't too bad. That Nick allows that.
I feel like Captain America, you know?
Yeah.
Here, this is my Rumble if anybody wants to know. It sort of mirrors a lot of stuff that happens, so it's good if you ever need me, need to get in touch with me or see or whatever. In any case, you're saying you have to scroll. That's exactly the issue. The live one is on top. But that is a whole different story, and I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. We're going to see you here next week, and now I'll just find our outro, and that'll be it. If I can just find it.
I'm such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. And my friends are awesome too. They make so many videos. I'm such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. Now we are an awesome group making live streams for you. I'm such an awesome